Anyway, all right. We're in Texas. Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Let's talk about it. What's he up to? What's he gonna do? I do think that it's like kind of odd that people aren't really talking about this as much as seems. Will civil war occur? I find it really funny that like all of these dudes who love masturbating to the thought of a civil war, like the likes of Tim Pool and stuff, claiming that the left is always trying to do a civil war, and you just straight up have the right wing governor of Texas unironically trying to do a civil war. Like this is the most real momentum towards that sort of thing ever. Okay.
We go to the southern border where the governor of Texas refuses to give in to federal law. The Supreme Court says federal agents can remove razor wire.
This is just illegal. You've been ignoring it? No, I haven't. I've covered it every day. What are you talking about? I've talked about this pretty much since it started popping off.
Texas National Guard strung along the Rio Grande to try to deter illegal border crossings. But in the border city of Eagle Pass, the state is still keeping Border Patrol agents away from one of those crossing points. Omar Villafranca is there with more. Omar, good morning.
Good morning. We are here at Shelby Park right on the Rio Grande, and the park is surrounded by this razor wire as far as the eye can see. Also within my line of sight, Texas National Guard armed and on standby. Now, the feds say the state put up miles of the razor wire by the river, which can prevent them from getting to migrants in distress. Now, earlier this week, the Supreme Court ruled that Border Patrol agents could cut and remove that wire. But after the ruling, our cameras saw Texas guardsmen uncoiling and preparing more wire to lay out. Another issue is park access. Border Patrol says it doesn't have full access to the park where many migrants illegally cross. State troopers and Texas guardsmen have it closed to federal agents. Now, the Border Patrol says it needs full access to do its job. The Biden administration has ordered the state to allow Border Patrol agents into this area by Friday. But Governor Greg Abbott, he's in fact firing back at the Biden administration, saying the Biden administration is not enforcing immigration laws that are already on the books. And he says if the federal government won't do it, Texas will secure its border. Of course, this is far from over. Both parties will be in court next month. Gail?
Omar, far from over and very complicated. Thank you very much.
Joining us now is the governor of Texas, and great to have you here with us, sir. Can you explain what did you decide was the breaking point for you to take the steps that you did, and maybe also just back up and let people know, what are you saying about the compact?
I love how casual they are about this. Like, here's the governor of Texas who, functionally is a terrorist, okay? Like a cessationist terrorist. It's like, could you imagine under a Trump administration, let's say Trump wins the election, which, there's a decent likelihood, okay? And let's say he's the admin now, comes back into power, and we got Greg Abbott, sorry. We got gruesome Governor Gavin Newsom going, you know what? It's a free-for-all. We've decided California controls its own borders, and we have decided in our own control of our own borders, okay, that we're just going to have a much looser approach. Okay, we're just going to let people in. It's a free trade, free flow situation. Like, how would the Republican Party respond? Do you think that the Republican Party and the Republican federal government, do you think that they would not turn around and immediately send in the National Guard? Okay, it's just ridiculous. Trump would like drone strike the California border. Okay. The notion that they just, God, I hate that Republicans just do whatever they want. And now 15 governors have announced that they support Texas in this border dispute with the federal government, with some sending National Guard units. Okay? It's just, what is happening in this country? We've lost our minds. It's so funny that Republicans can just like play fast and loose with straight up terrorism, cessationism, and I guess, like directly trying to do a civil war again. Okay. Like openly try to goad Biden into a civil war. The fact that they are capable of doing this is wild to me. And the sad reality is there's nothing. Like, what's Brandon going to do? What's Brandon going to do? And this is the saddest part about it, I guess, or the most tragic comedy of it all, is that we are trying to do a Civil War 2 Electric Boogaloo over states' rights to drown children in a river with razor wire. Like, we've moved beyond like states' rights to own slaves and into states' rights to do baby murder at the river. It's like, sorry, it's my river. I can kill babies on it with concertina wire if I want to, with booby traps. Great stuff. Great stuff overall. Where is the federal government? Why is the Brandon regime not sending the National Guard? Why has he not overtaken the Texas National Guard? Why is he not sending the military? Why is he not immediately arresting the illegal cessationist Governor Greg Abbott? Wheel his ass to a federal prison pronto. That's what I say. Okay? Oh my God. There's an update. Now, 25 Republican governors have issued a joint statement in support of Texas in its border dispute with federal government. Vermont's governor was the lone exception. That's awesome. We are the worst country on the planet. We're so stupid. America is the dumbest fucking nation on the planet. You will never convince me that this is a smart, sane, sound country. A better punishment for Greg Abbott would be just to blindfold him, wheel him into the middle of a forest, and let him have a serious panic attack when he's surrounded by his mortal enemy, trees. Oh, trees. All right, let's hear what else he has to say.
Between the federal government and the
Isn't this entirely performative from the Republican? Yes, it is entirely performative from the Republicans. But the issue is they shouldn't be able to test the boundaries of the federal government like this and basically win the trial balloon. Do you understand? It's like you can't capitulate. You can't cave to the Republicans on this. You're basically creating this precedent that, Republican states can basically do whatever they want. States' rights, but for Republicans only. Because, like I said, 8+ million illegal immigrants have already crossed, and it's only been 3 years. So what do you suggest? First of all, that number sounds insane. I don't know where you found that from. 8 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border. No, that number is wrong across the board. Okay. You are so stupid for thinking 8 million people actually physically cross the border illegally. Why? The current number of undocumented migrants on U.S. soil is around 13 million total, okay, give or take. 2, the not overwhelming majority, but the majority of border crossers or the majority of undocumented migrants that come into this country are not actually crossing the border physically. They're visa overstayers. It's people that you see at college alongside yourself. Okay? It's not people physically crossing the border. So you're wrong. He's actually talking about this, and he's a fucking Nikki Stan. Leave that chatter alone. Have 8 million migrants come to the U.S. under Biden. There's 0% chance this is correct. The 8 million have come in illegally. We have to send them back because you have to look at the fact that every time we allow them, they're incentivizing more to come. During January 8 Fox News town hall, Haley repeated the 8 million figure. Another presidential candidate, Ron DeSantis, cited that number too. Separately, the DHS estimates that about 391,000 people have evaded border authorities in 1 year, which includes about 4 months of the Trump administration. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement removed 142,000 people in the fiscal year of 2023. These removals happened after an official court order and can include people who have been living in the U.S. for years before Biden's administration. The total number of ICE removals under Biden is so far about 245,000. The Biden administration recorded about 2.5 million Title 42 expulsions through May 2023. There have been more than 3.6 million removals, returns, and expulsions from 2021, Biden's first month in office, to September 2023. So the number is not even 8 million. And you're so fucking stupid for thinking that this means they're border crossers. It's actually 3.6 million removals, many of which under Title 42, which means that they are legally entitled to be able to cross over the border and ask for asylum. And this is an illegal and unjustifiable expulsion, a COVID era expulsion opportunity that the Trump administration utilized, given to them by the CDC, okay, that the Biden camp also continued utilizing. And even then, none of this means 8 million people crossed the physical border in the Brandon regime. You are wrong. You are silly, okay? The majority of people that come into this country do not come in over the physical border and cross the physical border. The majority of people that are undocumented migrants in this country are actually visa overstayers, which means many of them are actually coming in with an actual visa and flying into the country. Some examples of visa overstayers include Melania Trump, Elon Musk, and many others. Now, of course, when I say it like that, it seems like I'm making an argument to take away these horrifying undocumented criminals, okay? I'm not. 21 Savage is a visa overstayer. Hold on. I just gotta... Anyway. Womp womp. Move along, Hassan. Wait, what? What do you mean? Anyway. U.S. immigration agents processed more than 200,000 migrants who crossed the southern border unlawfully in September, the highest level recorded in 2022. The Biden admin struggles to contain the mass migration gripping the region, according to preliminary government data obtained by CBS News. Okay. Part of the problem is this is going to get much, much worse. Not that it's actually good or bad, by the way. Right here, buddy. Encounters at the southwest border have increased 40%. Where's the 8 million number? What are you talking about? Do you not understand that when you say 8 million undocumented migrants cross the border physically, you're just wrong? You're not reading the data correctly. You're literally just, you're wrong. This does not mean, okay, this does not mean 8 million people cross the border illegally. Oh my God. Hello. These encounters are from people that have been living here for God knows, for God knows how many years. Okay. I didn't say that. I said total migrants. You did not say that. You said that 8 million illegals crossed the border during the Biden administration. Don't act like you didn't say that, okay? The majority of people that are coming into this country are still visa overstayers. Why are we debating Chatter's law? Because it doesn't matter. This is an important thing for people to understand, and many people personally don't recognize this, and they hear a big number and they run with it. So if I'm duking it out with a chatter, I might as well be you duking it out with your parents. I'm sure your parents also bring up these brain dead fucking concepts nonstop. It's an important talking point to address. Another lie that Republicans love telling, for example, very common one, is when people routinely talk about, like, for example, the amount of money that undocumented immigrants cost the United States of America. Now, if you know anything about undocumented migrants, the major reason for why we have a documented and undocumented migrant process to begin with is so that the agricultural industry and the poultry industry can just take advantage of a two-tier labor structure where they have a permanent underclass that they can abuse and exploit and steal money from, beat the shit out of, and then deport. They used the INS early on. It used to be called the INS, and now ICE as their own personal like team that could just wipe out the entire labor force, and then there's always a steady pool coming in regardless. So that's something to understand, and that's something to consider. Having said that, however, given the current structure that exists with undocumented and documented labor, in the United States of America, and there are studies done on this, plenty of studies actually done on this, undocumented migrants give more into the system than they take out. America doesn't have a robust welfare structure to begin with, and beyond that, even if we did have a robust welfare structure, undocumented migrants do not have the capacity to take advantage of said robust welfare structure, right? Not that it fucking matters. Yeah. There's also the Canadian border as well, for the record. The 8 million number that we're talking about is both of these borders. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's also literally people that are flying in. Okay? So, undocumented migrants actually give in to the, like, they genuinely pay more in taxes than they actually take out. The only area where undocumented migrants can actually take advantage, I guess, if you want to say that, or become a burden to the system, is emergency rooms, which are incredibly tiny. It's like 0.009% of all healthcare costs go to undocumented migrants or something. So they give into the system infinitely more than they take. But because that number is so tiny and so minuscule, and it would be really stupid if you were a racist person and you tried to use that as an example and claim that, like, this is the major reason why we have to stop illegal immigration dead in its tracks, you'd look like a fucking silly little fool. Republicans have come up with a very fun way of padding the stats. Okay? The very fun way that Republicans pad the stats is by adding the children of undocumented migrants that were born on U.S. soil to that number overall. That's why there's like this multiple billion dollar number that they use all the time. They'll say, oh, undocumented illegal immigration costs billions and billions of dollars every year to the American government. And it's fucking bullshit. And it's also incredibly racist, because an undocumented migrant having a child on the U.S. soil does not mean that child is that child should be factored into the undocumented migrant pool and their cost to the American government anyway. That is an American citizen. It does not fucking matter. Okay? It is absolutely ridiculous. Not dreamers. No, I'm not even talking about dreamers. I'm talking about straight up undocumented migrants, like a child born into a family with at least one undocumented parent. Automatically, in these assessments that the Republican think tanks try to put forward, will factor into the overall cost. It's complete fucking bullshit. Okay? Anyway, so the encounters themselves from the Department of Homeland Security, okay, the encounters themselves do not factor in people just like simply crossing the border and getting caught. This is a much more complicated issue than the way people present it. Okay? What do I mean by this? Encounters mean someone that they actually saw crossing the border, or someone that has been inside of the U.S. borders and has been living here as an undocumented migrant, as either a visa overstayer or as someone who physically crossed the border. Okay? What is this? This is the chatter you're looking for. You mistook the other chatter for this one. So to look at this and then present it as though it's like 8 million people crossed the border physically and got caught this year is wrong. Okay? Why do you look so fucking dumb today? I'm trying to look more white and more conservative. That might be the reason. What about the sanctuary cities that have declared they can't take care of more illegal immigrants anymore? I believe what you are referring to is, yeah, doggy, I'm first gen and I don't care about this. I'm not that chatter, Lamau. Okay, regardless, Where the fuck were we? All right. So, number one, the sanctuary cities that are not able to take care of people, I assume you're using the New York example. Okay? You're using the New York example. These border states are massive. They get money from the government, and they have methods of dealing with undocumented migrants and processing them. Okay? So instead of processing undocumented migrants who are legally seeking asylum on U.S. soil, it is their right, it is their human right to legally seek asylum on U.S. soil, many of which already even have automatic temporary protected status if they're Venezuelan or Ukrainian. Okay? If that is the situation and you automatically decide, nope, they're criminals, there's a criminal element, doesn't matter, we have to fucking apprehend them, and you treat it as though this is like a serious, severe crime, and then instead of integrating these people, allowing them to get like work visas and whatnot, despite the fact that they are legally allowed to be inside of the U.S. boundaries, the United States boundaries for the duration of their court case as their asylum status is processed, instead of allowing them to live and exist here, okay, and work to make their lives easier, if you treat them like they're fucking criminals and then kidnap them and then send them to other states without even giving the other states without communicating with the other states that they're coming, yeah, you're going to cause a fucking massive hurdle in the process. You're gumming up the works. It is already a difficult process to begin with, okay? I'm not sitting here and saying like, oh, it's super simple. Like we have the capacity automatically and magically to like take care of every single person. It takes a lot of manpower. It takes a lot of hours and hours. It takes people that are able to, you need translators. You need people to process the court cases. You need people to process the actual asylum claims, right? But instead of doing any of that, you're just shipping them over to New York without telling New York, yeah, it's going to fucking cause a problem. But the problem is actually not the asylum seekers coming into the country. The problem stems from Governor Greg Abbott literally busing people like they're not real humans, okay? That is what's very, very, very frustrating about this. There is no issue with like sanctuary cities. Okay. Notice how you only hear about New York and you don't hear about California having an issue with this process, because California is a fucking border state. Why do people not recognize this? The reason why nobody talks about California having a problem with this is because Texas is not shipping them to California, or even if they are, it's not a genuine problem. Okay? Why is it that this becomes an issue for New York or Chicago? Well, it's because New York and Chicago are not equipped. Yeah, not an issue in New Mexico, not an issue in California. All of a sudden, issue for Chicago or an issue for New York. Well, part of that is because they do not have the processes to deal. They do not have the funding nor the go ahead to be able to take care of all these people coming in. Texas does. That's why it's gross and disgusting that Texas turns around and uses this as like a little political ploy. It uses like these real human beings that are suffering as a pawn. Anyway, as far as would you agree that at least our entire immigration system needs a complete overhaul? Yes, but not in the direction that you think, I think. Our entire immigration system could absolutely deal with a ton of people coming over the border. It's just a matter of whether or not that would be beneficial for our corporate overlords. Because the reality is, if you took in this new pool of labor and actually allowed them to be documented and actually allowed them to work in the American labor pool, okay, all of a sudden you would have a massive issue. There is no lump sum of labor, okay? Yeah, doggy, I'm first and I don't care about this. I'm in New York City. The immigrants are not a problem. Eric Adams being a bald-headed bitch with his lips stuck to the NYPD's asshole is the problem. He spent $150 million on overtime for fare catching, and that yielded $100K in fare saved. He's a bum, and the immigrants are not the problem. Yes, Eric Adams is a reactionary piece of shit and is not able to manage is not able to deal with the issue at all. The issue is being caused by Greg Abbott for sure, but Eric Adams is certainly not doing a good enough job dealing with it. Okay? There are a million different problems with the way that our immigration structure is set up in this country. Okay? And the big reason as to why we have all of these problems is because it is by design. Because we need to ensure that there are undocumented laborers that are constantly coming into this country, so our corporate overlords can use them as a way to depress wages for the documented labor pool, as a way to consistently get cheap labor. That's it. And the reality is, other countries do similar things. They take advantage of, like, I don't know, Polish workers, for example, within the EU work structure, workers coming from countries that are not as well off. America does it in the grossest ways possible. Like, many countries take advantage of cheap immigrant labor, but at least they fucking document them. Okay? We are even grosser than that. We're not just like allowing immigrants to operate as like cheap migrant labor, which we used to back in the day, right? We had like seasonal migrant workers and stuff like that for the agricultural industry. We literally don't even do that. It's just like straight up slave shit. It's closer to, the way we operate is closer to, yes, South Asian labor in the Gulf states. Like some of the worst conditions overall. It's really fucked up. A lot of staff agencies around around me locally, we used illegals during COVID when most people wanted to stay home and overlooked a lot of the labor laws to hire them. Once things started to open up, a lot of those illegals let go. Please don't say illegals, bro. Undocumented migrants. All right. That's why it's so gross that farmers LARP as workers. Nah, bro, you own an orchard and drive a tractor around. Sometimes all the people doing the work are the immigrants. Yes. 75% of agriculture and 90% of meatpacking is done by immigrants now in the United States. Our entire economy, our entire food production revolves around migrant labor. If we were to shut down illegal immigration, like actually shut it down, if you wanted to actually shut down illegal immigration, here, I'll tell you, this is something I bring up all the time, okay? You would punish the businesses. You would make it so that it's not simply just a slap on the wrist if you get caught with undocumented workers. You actually get criminal charges and might even go to fucking jail. If that was the real goal, you would make it impossible for bosses to hire illegal immigrants. But they don't do that because the current system works for them. The current system exists for that reason. Okay? That's it. That's it. Anyway. Don't call it illegal immigration. Call it undocumented persons migration. Okay, whatever. Shut up. You don't have to be that fucking woke, all right? Especially not at the goddamn top of the hour. When there's a 3-minute ad break and I forgot to run it because I'm in Texas and I have a headache and I'm a little slow today, all right? Here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. That's why every Republican who's ever promised mass deportations, the president has failed to deliver on those promises. It's a nice catchphrase to get racists to vote for you, but it would destroy America. Yes. If you actually wanted to shut down illegal immigration, if you were like that scared of illegal immigration, you would go to the actual source of the problem. Right now, ICE and the way that these agencies operate are simply a way to work at the behest of corporations. Yeah, that's the other thing. Expulsions can be the same person too. Okay? They run up those stats pretty high. We've had 8 million immigrants come to the U.S. illegally under Biden, and they only sent back 142,000. There have been 8.1 million encounters with migrants nationwide under Biden, but that number does not represent unique individuals, and not all who were spotted were allowed to stay in the U.S. The 142,000 refers only to ICE removals in the fiscal year 2023, but that is not the only way migrants can be sent out of the U.S. There have been 3.6 million removals, returns, and expulsions under the Biden administration. The data also represents events, not people. You understand? Just think. We have what? A total of something around the line, something along the lines of like 13 million undocumented migrants. You really think 8 million undocumented migrants were caught in this country separately? No. How do you combat the talking point saying immigrants aren't assimilating properly? Well, that's wrong. That's why there is no reason to combat that talking point. It's just false. Okay? This is a nation of immigrants, And by the second generation, no matter where immigrants are coming from, there is already like a lot of assimilation. And by the third generation, that's it. You're just a full blown American citizen. Okay. Like, and by that, I mean, your educational outcomes are identical to the average American. Like everything turns into like normal American. Here, I'll give you an example that is like the model minority and kind of racist, because Americans are kind of racist, so they'll understand it a little bit better. Think of the difference between a first generation, fresh off the boat Asian student that you meet in college. And by Asian, I don't mean like, I'm talking model minority Asian, which is, of course, going to be like a relatively wealthy, relatively affluent Chinese family, for example. Okay? That person's aspirations, motivations, anecdotally, the way you think about it, is going to be dramatically different than your friend that you grew up with that is third generation Chinese, okay? Third generation Korean, Chinese, Vietnamese, doesn't matter. They're all just as dumb as the rest of the third, fourth generation, wherever the fuck you're from, okay? Does that make sense? Do you understand? Think about how, like, if you have your buddies, like third generation Asian immigrants, okay, like third generation American Chinese immigrants that you know, or American Korean immigrants that you know, okay. Think about how fucking dumb they are. They're in the chat right now, okay. And it's the same as any other. It's the same as any other migrant population. Cultural assimilation, or just assimilation, is complete by the third generation. At that point, you're talking about like someone who came to the country, someone who had a child in this country, and then the child of a child of a child in this country. It's over at that point. You're full-blown American. This is going to get clip chimp so hard. Yeah, I don't care. Everything I say and everything I do is fucking clip chimp. Yeah, explains the Latinos for Trump, third and fourth generation. Well, no. Latinos for Trump, especially if you're looking at a state like Texas, have been in this country for much longer than Donald Trump has, okay? And Donald Trump's lineage has. That's the other side of this conversation, too. Okay? Like, what do you mean? Texas is a district of Mexico, okay? It's North Mexico. Texans that have been here, Texans of Mexican descent, like Chicano Texans, have been here for infinitely longer than like half of the fucking northeastern whites, okay? Same with even California too. So that's like what's really funny about this conversation, but because they're brown sometimes, you don't see them or perceive them as like people that have been here for much, 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 much longer, okay? There's a reason why you think Donald Trump, whose family's been in here, like his grandpappy is the first person that came to this country, is seen as like an American and not some like random Chicano dude living in Texas for like 8 fucking generations at this point. Who's more American? Anyway, so having said that, another part of the reason why the Chicano population in Texas is so reactionary and identifies, especially the older population, identifies with you know, right-wing policies. I love this idea. Look. This is my favorite, like, supposed own. Dude, immigration is my bread and butter, dog. I'm a fucking anchor baby. This is like obviously an issue that's near and dear to me. Okay? Don't come at me with like tier 1 talking points. You realize even Hispanic migrants are against migrant border crossings. Yeah, I know, dude. I know. 52% of the Customs and Border Patrol are actually Hispanic. Okay? Oh my God, I can't believe it. I know how racist and how xenophobic Hispanics can get. Okay? I know. It doesn't matter. There is no like magic shield here where you got like, oh, well, they're Mexican, they're Chicano, never mind. Oops. I guess they're right then. My bad. It's like talking to me about like black cops or something. That's not going to change the dynamic. Okay? So here's the thing. Why is that the case? Well, that's because, and people get really touchy when I talk about this, but 65% of the Latino population in this country identify as white when given the option of identifying as white or not white. Okay. Hispanics and Latinos have been brought under the banner of white in the last like 3 decades. When you are brought into the banner of white, you vote like a white person. There's a couple different reasons for this, obviously, because like the Latino Hispanic population is obviously far from a monolith. There are certain enclaves, certain cultural enclaves for their own personal ideological reasons and how they immigrated into the United States have very different opinions. Cubans in Miami are very reactionary, very, very historically right wing for obvious reasons. Venezuelans as well for the same reasons almost, right? But then when you talk about like Texas, when you look at the Chicano population in Texas, that's a little bit different. That's because the Chicano population in Texas have been there for a very long time. Some of them are already identify as white, but more importantly than that, there are the GOP Texas Outreach Program hyper focuses on social conservatism, which appeals a lot to especially the older Chicano population. Okay, that's it. Chicano is a California thing. Okay, well, Tex-Mex then. I don't know how else to mention, Texans of Mexican descent. Tejano. Is religion, I'm in the demo you're talking about, and religion is why all the Hispanic people I know in my family are Republican. Yes, that is a major part of the reason. This is something I've talked about quite a bit. The Hispanic population is far from a monolith, but when you look at like even the older Hispanic Latino population, when you look at the older Hispanic and Latino population in this country, okay, I don't know what the latest numbers look like, but I mean, I've looked at the Pew Center research stuff quite a bit on this stream as well. Historically, okay, with the exception of the Venezuelan and Cuban Latino populations, across the board, there's one thing that Latino voters are actually on board with, and that is bigger government. Now, that's the worst way to frame that issue, right? The worst way to ask people about like government initiatives and social welfare programs and things of that nature is by saying, do you think that there should be a bigger government? Latinos across the board, even in the oldest demographics, are actually one of the only reliable demographic that says, yes, we want a bigger government. They want social conservatism and they want more left-wing economic, like progressive policies. Now, the issue is the Democratic Party doesn't offer them the left-wing policies, right? They don't offer them that at all. And the Republicans certainly do offer them social conservatism. So then if one party is not offering them anything and just simply saying, well, the right wing is racist, and the other party is like, yeah, we're racist, but also so are you, kind of. You're white now. And also on top of that, like, we love religion. These Democrats are pedophile baby eaters. Okay. Yeah, the people go, all right, well, those guys are at least offering me something. I don't like that the Democrats are pedophile baby eaters. So now I'm just going to vote for the right. We are not white now. Stop. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. The reason why America is still like 60+% white is because the Hispanic population and even a chunk of the Latino population is considered under the census as white. Okay? That's just it. I don't know what to tell you. That's like they are seen as white as though like Italians are seen as white. Okay? I'm telling you, young white Hispanics love calling themselves POC. I know. Hispanics are more likely than the general public to say they would rather have a bigger government providing more services than a smaller government with fewer services. Some 75% of Hispanics say this, while 19% say that they would rather have a smaller government with fewer services. By contrast, just 41% of the general U.S. public say they want a bigger government, while nearly half, 48%, say they want a smaller government. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. This is a huge, incredibly important, piece of information for you to understand this. I mean, Jank is white. Here, this is a good example. Jank is white, okay? He is white under the American census. He is seen as white. Even though when you look at him, I mean, he's not exactly a white guy, right? That's a terrible example. No, I don't think it's a terrible example at all. While Jank and I are literally directly related, if you look at both of us, I look white. He does not. Like, that's crazy. But he's technically white. Pew Center Research Survey replicated the Census Bureau's format, asking about race separately from Hispanic ethnicity. Asked about their race in this way, more than half of the Hispanics in the survey identified their race as white, 58%. Something to consider. Yeah. You can be brown skinned and be considered white? Yes. You absolutely can. And you are. That's how it works. It's because being white is a political designation. It's not like actually the color of your skin in real life. That's why so many people get mad at me and say that I'm an anti-white racist. And it's like normally a laughable notion that should never stick. I'm white as fuck. What do you mean? Right? But the people that get mad at that, don't classify me as a white person. I'm white as fuck. Okay? I'm incredibly white. I'm pale as shit. I mean, especially under this camera. Okay? It has nothing to do with the color of your skin, is my point. You're insane if you think he's white. Exactly. Look at his honkers. Yeah, I'm Arab and my only options are white or other. Yes, that's true. That's what I'm saying. Arabs are white too, even though they're fucking not. Anyway, younger Hispanic populations don't, like younger Americans, younger demographics who are in our age group don't identify as white, especially in a community like this, where you're proud of your background, you're proud of your heritage. But the older populations do declare themselves white. Many of them also even look white too. My point is, racial classifications in the U.S. are stupid as fuck. But if you want to understand voting patterns, it's already like really reductive and you're generalizing anyway. But I mean, dude, look at Rafael Cruz, man. Look at Ted Theodore Rafael Cruz. Look at this motherfucker. Look. Wait, oops. The wrong thing. Look at the tab I just closed. This dude's name is Rafael Cruz, okay? Born in Canada. He's white as hell. He's a Canadian Hispanic guy, but he's white as fuck. Anyway, Canadians, we don't claim Rafael. Well, you have to, because he's yours. He's your problem. Anyway, so yeah. Let's take a look at what this fucking demon has to say, though.
Texas today.
So it was the states that created the United States. And when the states voted to create the United States and have a constitution, included in that agreement was the compact that the federal government would take care of the states. And Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution speaks to that and says that if the federal government does not take care of the states, and the states are in danger, well, we can ask the federal government to live up to its obligation. Then the authors of the Constitution knew there would be times when the federal government would not live up to its duty. And so they empowered states in Article 1, Section 10, the right of self-defense. And what Texas is asserting is our...
We're doing self-defense against the Mexican babies, brother. It's so cool that all of the most powerful nations on the planet with like the biggest militaries on the planet are constantly finding themselves at odds with like the baby murder machine. You know what I mean? It's literally, he's like talking about self-defense against what? Like Mexican children, okay? Guatemalan children. It's so fucking stupid. We are literally, I mean, this is, I don't know, it's a chicken or the egg situation. It's like, is this Israel learning from us? Vice versa? I mean, it is Israel learning from us. Like, this is what like big, powerful nations do. Their biggest enemies are people who are like voluntarily trying to come into the United States to work.
Article 1, Section 10, right of self-defense, because the President of the United States is not fulfilling his duty to enforce the laws passed by Congress that deny illegal entry into the United States.
Governor, will you instruct your officers to physically prevent federal officers from accessing that part of the border?
So what Texas is doing is just very simple. And that is because the Biden administration has really, truly abdicated its responsibility to secure the border and enforce the laws. Texas, very simply, is securing the border. And so we put up the razor wire that you were talking about, Bill, and we put up all these barricades that actually have denied illegal entry. And as you pointed out also in that screen, that there are criminals coming across our border. Texas has a right as a state to stop criminals from coming into our state, to make arrests of those criminals. And we have National Guard as well as Texas Department of Public Safety officers who are there to make those arrests and to deny illegal entry. And Joe Biden actually does have an option here. Joe Biden's option is to enforce the laws of the United States and stop this illegal entry.
Doesn't look like they're going to do that. Listen to Corinne Jean-Pierre. This is what she said about you yesterday.
It's unfortunate that there is a governor in Texas, Governor Abbott, who has politicized this issue of what's happening on the border. And it's not making people's lives safer. It's actually making it harder for law enforcement at the border to do their job.
She just said that this morning. How do you respond?
It's true, by the way. I mean, that's crazy. Why do you think Biden is being such a pussy and not doing anything about this? He could seize control of the National Guard and direct federal agencies to fucking arrest Greg Abbott or something. Well, even beyond that, let's dial it back a second, right? Like, obviously, taking action against like a rogue governor of this magnitude is like creating a genuine constitutional crisis that deserves enforcement of sorts. But even before we get there, the question we should be asking is this. Why has the Democratic Party not counter-messaged against immigration in the past 4 years, where the Republican Party was always going to inevitably prime their voting bloc and the entire country against immigration anyway? This isn't new. They do this all the time. What, you think a migrant caravan only pops up every 2 fucking years right before the midterms or right before the general election? No. There's always a steady flow of migrants trying to come into the United States because there's so many people in dire economic circumstances, largely caused by, obviously, capitalism, but also the fact that we are directly intervening in the country's affairs to our south, especially, right? Which is, through many different reasons, like obviously climate change, destroying agricultural production in in South America, and direct political intervention that like causes destabilization and chaos and violence that people are choosing to escape. All these people always want to come to the United States of America. So we know that immigration is going to be a permanent issue. Why are we not correcting the record on immigration? Why has the Democratic Party not brought about the same kinds of talking points against the Trump administration when they're in power? That's the real question you must ask. Okay? And the answer is, it's because they don't want to, because they are still beholden to the same corporate interests that take advantage of the two-tier labor structure that we have, where there's a permanent underclass of undocumented migrants. Some of those people are voting Democrat. Okay, these corporate interests are still way too important. So the Democrats actually are complicit in this, because they take advantage of it. They benefit from the Republicans being like the party of white nativist immigration, and that's precisely the reason why Biden used eminent domain and continued the expansion of the border wall, which was like a symbolic thing to begin with, right? And a waste of money in general. And the Biden administration totally caved on that. And then beyond that, they have not, like, they haven't done anything. They're just like able to, did I say domain expansion? I said eminent domain. Yeah. This part of the process is also disgusting. Freak shit. Hold on. Wait. Here. Yeah, they're also tying immigration. They're tying immigration to funding Ukraine, a spending package for Ukraine and Israel. So they're like, oh, we can't do anything about this. Like, we just have to end up doing more border crackdowns, like more white nativist border crackdowns that the Republicans want. There's no political benefit to it anyway, though. There is no political benefit to this, okay? Oh, shit. I just realized that's unironically good. No funding for Israel. Here. Read the first article. It's a quote from a Republican senator. Okay. Senator James Lankford, the Oklahoma Republican and staunch conservative, this week trumpeted the immigration compromise he has been negotiating with the Senate Democrats and White House officials as one shaping up to be by far the most conservative border security bill in decades. We're offering up a fat fucking dub for the Republican Party, which will not actually benefit the Democrats in any meaningful capacity. This is a policy failure because obviously reactionary white nativist immigration policies are harmful and they're not good overall. They're going to hurt a lot of people, okay? But it's also a politics failure. It's a political failure because, as I've said time and time again, any kind of capitulation to the Republican Party on issues that they advocate for does not actually change the political dynamic in the country in the way that Democrats think it does. It doesn't cause right-wing reactionaries to go, you know what, these Democrats, they did right by us. They made the border safer. They're never going to say that, okay? All it does is basically seed ground to the reactionary sentiment that immigrants are actually genuinely a problem for this country. Okay? You've just normalized that position for no reason whatsoever because you can never, and I repeat this time and time again, but it bears repeating, you cannot outflank the Republicans on racism because the real reason as to why we have this kind of border policy to begin with, beyond the material reasons, the reason why people are asking for it, right? The average American wants it is not because the average American is thinking about it logically. The average American wants border policy for racist reasons. Okay? You can slap on an economic reason onto it, like, oh, the immigrants are stealing our jobs or whatever the fuck, right? And there is truth to that, I guess, as far as like the way that undocumented migrants work and the way that you can fix that. Whoa, what the fuck? Uh-oh. What happened? Why did my camera just fucking die? Oops. Hold on, I gotta try and fix this. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right, we're cooked. All right, let's do this. Hold on, chat. The battery died. Didn't realize that it wasn't charging this whole time. I gotta fix that, obviously. But hold on here. I'll do this real quick. I'll fix it like this. Yeah. Let's see if this works well. Boom. I'm using the laptop camera now. At least for the duration. Anyway, I actually have to go anyway because I have to do a shoot right now. So regardless of everything else, like the camera being busted, I have to go to a shoot. So, you know, the camera blowing up, the camera dying of battery actually worked out well. Hold on. Let me see. I also have to wake March's bitch ass up, and he's sleeping. Camera overheated and shut down? No. What ended up happening was actually that the camera's battery it's like much stupider than that. The camera battery died because I thought I had connected the camera battery to the I thought I had connected the camera battery to a charger, but I guess it wasn't charging. So yeah, it is March's fault. Will you stream tomorrow? Yes. Yes, I will be streaming tomorrow. Rimowa luggage. That is my luggage, yes. I didn't even get to talk about the other stuff that I wanted to talk about, but all right. Anyway, Tatsuya has decent ramen if you want some. It's in downtown Austin. Sure. Will you cover the ICJ decision tomorrow? I will be live. I know. I will talk about the ICJ decision. How many pairs of shoes you pack? Also, the camera died. It wasn't charging. How long are you here in Texas? Are you gonna be on Canoe stream later? Probably. All right. Go to Desnudo Coffee tomorrow morning. Best coffee in Austin. That's the homies. Sure. Okay. God, I have a massive fucking headache. This sucks. Oh, why is it that traveling always just like messes me up, chat? Why is it? I don't know. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like it was definitely charging when I left. It was probably just dying faster than the cable charging it. We need a brick for it. I connected it to the Steam Deck charger now, which might work better. Because you don't fly private, stop slumming it with the poors and flex that wealth. Yeah, no, I think flying private is stupid. You should invite JT on stream since you're in Texas. Who the fuck is JT? Justin Timberlake? Go to Salt Lake. It's so crazy. I know. Everybody's got their own. Oh, second thought. Oh, that's actually interesting. Maybe. All right. I'm gonna be doing some OTK collabos. All right. God, my head hurts. Didn't get to talk about the Taylor Swift stuff, but anyway, see you guys tomorrow. Well, see you on other people's streams. Be on the lookout. I will post on my I'll post on my social media on like whose channel I'll be on or whatever, right? And you'll get to know from there. I'll let you guys know. All right, anyway. Bye everybody. I'll be at the gym later. Peace. All the chatters trickling in has so people hate. Sunny Los Angeles, California, says her son. The starlight to the topic just begun.